Well, that was easily the best season finale that we've gotten thus far. Hello everyone, and this will not just be my review of Season 3, Episode 8 of The Wheel of Time on Prime, but my review of the season as a whole. Minor book spoilers ahead. Considering that last episode was solely focused on Perrin's plot, I like the way this episode juggled the White Tower plot, the Tanchico plot, and of course the Kara Karn plot, all of which felt well balanced with the others and had major payoffs. Varen and the others getting led out of the tower leading up to Siuan getting deposed was great. Siuan's death is another change from the books, but it hits hard, and it's a lot easier for me to understand than Loial's death. It also shows how crafty and cruel Elaida is. A bold choice, but I can see why they went in that direction. Moving over to Tanchico, I was expecting to see Nynaeve versus Moghedien this season, and while that hasn't happened yet, I'm still convinced that it will, and I'll talk more about that in a bit. That said, I did like Nynaeve getting over her block. This wasn't the same as it was in the books, but considering that the quest to get the male Idam isn't over yet, I'd say it was a worthwhile payoff for this season. Yes, Nynaeve got over her block way later in the book series, but there, she could still channel most of the times she needed to, like when fighting the Black Ajah or the Forsaken. In the show, though, it's the opposite. She can only channel in rare instances, so her getting over her block earlier makes sense because of how involved she is in the story, and how often she needs to channel. I also like the scenes with Tom and Elaine, which do a great job at exploring their relationship and foreshadowing the Rude Awakening when Gabriel's identity is revealed. And it had the added bonus of explaining what Balefire does in a very clever way. I always envisioned Balefire as white rather than purple, and I always thought it killed its targets quickly, but this works. And then there's the scenes with Mat and the Eelfinn. There were multiple foxes in the books, but the one in this scene says we, so he probably isn't alone. Mat gets out the same way he does in the books, but there he asks for his memory to be filled rather than taken. I'm not sure what this is going to lead to. Maybe he will go through another redstone door and get the gaps in his memory filled. If you know, you know. Lastly, we have the Aiel. Lanfear didn't attempt to sabotage Rand like this in the books, but for me this was a welcome change since I don't remember an explanation for Couladin's tattoos in the books. The battle between Moiraine and Lanfear is good, constant back and forth, and we get to see the true power for the first time. You're constantly afraid for Moiraine, especially when Siuan is killed. I'm not sure what this will lead to next season since I was expecting Moiraine not to make it out of this, but I have theories. Rand versus Couladin is about what I expected, though Couladin did not have a head start in the books. But I do like that Rand entering the center is more of a challenge to him since Couladin had the time to establish himself. The resolution of this event is great, and it carries the gravity that it should have for the Aiel and the world as a whole. The ultimate climax of these three plotlines isn't as much of a triumph as last season. Rand is the Kara Karn, but the Aiel are divided. Nynaeve is over her block, but Moghedien has the male Idam. Also, the White Tower is in the hands of a megalomaniac who wants to cage Rand. Overall, this was a great final episode of the season that concludes in a much more open-ended fashion for Season 4, which I still hope we get. Okay, now onto my thoughts on the season overall. This is mostly just the same things I've been saying all season. The Wheel of Time on Prime was always a loose adaptation of the books, but this season was much more faithful than Season 2, which was in turn more faithful than Season 1. So much more of the dialogue, lore, and plot are adapted from the books rather than being completely made up. Even though the circumstances are different, most of the iconic or important events are the same, and they make sense for the story and the character arcs, and the format necessitated by the change in medium. And that attention to detail, with everything from the maiden hand talk to the effects of Balefire. Despite some questionable changes that take the bite out of some plot points from the books, and some character deaths that were not in the books, Season 3 as a whole works very well. Amazon had better greenlight a Season 4, or we will riot. As for theories as to how next season is going to go, assuming we get another season, here are my predictions. First of all, Rand is going to go to Tyr, with the Aiel loyal to him, probably fighting Couladin along the way. Then he's going to get to Tyr to get Kalandor and face off with one of the Forsaken for it. Possibly Ravine, possibly another Forsaken we haven't met yet. Osmodian being the most likely candidate, with Samael having been killed before he could teach Rand anything. Whoever it is will end up teaching Rand about saidin after they're captured. Moraine will fight Lanfear again, and this time, neither will be coming back. With the breaking of the White Tower, we will see the remaining sisters who were loyal to Swan start up their own faction. The girls, joined by Mat and Tom, will go to Tyr as well. Maybe Moghedien will successfully collar Rand, at least temporarily. Maybe she won't. And eventually, Nynaeve will fight Moghedien, ultimately stopping the plan to take Rand. The rest of the season will adapt bits from books 5 and 6. Perrin will eventually get away from the White Cloaks, but the process will see him learning more about being a wolf brother, and especially starting to use the Wolf Dream. The girls will go to the newly formed Rebel Aes Sedai. I'm not sure about Mat and Tom, though. Then, the remainder of the season will be about fighting against the Shaido and Elaida trying to cage Rand. Rand will be fighting off the Shaido, but then towards the end of the season, Elaida will cage him, and Perrin finds out, and he leads the people of the Two Rivers, and possibly the wolves as well, and maybe even the White Cloaks, to get him back, thus leading to the Battle of Dumai's Wells. Eventually, the forces of light will come out on top, and Couladin will die here, and his wife will take over the Shaido, assuming they will even be around by that point. Also, Rand's Forsaken teacher will die at some point, getting killed by a mysterious figure. Well, that was longer than I anticipated it being. If we do get a season 4, I'll have to go back over all of this to see how much of it I got right. Whatever happens, even if the show gets canceled, I'll still appreciate it just for this season, and I'll still be making Wheel of Time content on this channel. And I've got more videos planned even beyond my Wheel of Time ranking series, and I look forward to having those discussions with you. I'm Kylan Mythos, and I will see you all next time.